I have a section titled Special Situations this week, and the reason is the broader market possible rally that I was talking about. So there's names that are set up specifically for if that market rally comes, these things look like they're perfectly set up, but they don't fit nicely into any of those other categories we just went over. So keep in mind, these are names where I'm trying to get long if the market's going to have that rally. So the first name on this list is probably going to make people spit their coffee up. Coin. Yes, coin's a piece of junk. I've been short biased this whole way down. And in fact, it does have a looming short trigger under the low of this candle here, which is 60.50. Okay, so under 60.50, and this should head lower. But if we look at a weekly chart, if we break last week's lows, which is 60.50, and we can't come down here and make a new low, we may be getting a higher low on the weekly chart. And then the break back over last week's highs is a major trigger if that happens. So, you know, if we can actually lose 60.50, I'm not actually that interested in shorting it. Typically, when I think my alert even says it, yeah, it does. Look, short pops. It says daily, short trigger on the daily, short pops. Trust me, I'm not that interested in shorting pops on coin if we break last week's lows. Because if we break last week's lows and this thing starts to hold and we put in a higher low, over last week's highs is dangerous. It's very dangerous. And what I'm looking for, it doesn't even have to, you know, we don't even have to lose last week's lows. If we break Wednesday's highs, that is an anticipation trigger to try to break over 74.50. So if we break over 71.81, I'm looking to get long on dips and join trend, because I think, you know, if we get over that 71.81 level, we are going to test that 74.50 area. And that's a nice gain in itself, right? Taking a few points while it moves to the next level is a great trade. But if we get above that level, this thing could get moving, and it could be a magnet for the 20-day. So I really, really, really want to make sure I don't take my eyes off this if this thing moves. And keep in mind, as much as everybody thinks coin follows Bitcoin, if you've been watching coin for the last while, it's really starting to follow the broader market more so than it is the cryptocurrencies. So it really is following NASDAQ and the SPY much better than Bitcoin. Just keep that in mind. All right, so the next name in this list of names I'm thinking might get a ripper if the market turns is mRNA. And again, it's over Thursday's highs is the trigger. And it's no different, guys, if you look at the weekly chart. If we break last week's lows but do not take out 2 weeks ago's lows, we may be getting a higher low on the weekly time frame, which would make that break over that level even more powerful. Now, the one thing that I'll point out that makes this way less desirable than coin is that we're not that extended from the weekly 20 like we were on coin, right? Like if we go back to coin, you'll see the extension from the weekly 20s quite a bit. Moderna, on the other hand, not a lot of room back to the weekly 20. But I would love to see us just, you know, kind of trigger and then look to buy dips and try to join trend, because if you guys ever trade this name, the range it can have is really sizable. You know, we've been having, it's got an $11 ATR at the moment, but like if we were back here, when we were trading in the mid 200s, you know, we're looking at a $30 ATR. Doesn't mean we're gonna have a $30 ATR trading down here in the hundreds, but if this thing catches a hair up its butt, it could be ripping, and you don't want to be fighting it short either. So maybe you don't take the long, but at the very least, guys, pay attention to these levels, because if this triggers the long, the very least you can go hands off on the short, right? Hands off on the short. All right, and the last name on my list this week, probably another one that's going to make people want to like slap me, is Roku. I think Roku is setting up for the long. It's been such a great fader, but you know, we tried to probe below. You know, we made this push down on Friday and it soaked back up. So basically, I've got 101.55. Over 101.55 should send it. I do think that the first emotional spike up into 110s is probably a great fade. I really do. I think we get up into 110s and I'm probably looking to fade it. That's why I have this alert set up here, is just in case we do push those. But I have an alert right here to get long on dips if we trigger over 101.55. I feel like Roku's another one of those ones that, $9 ATR, liquid enough, beaten down enough. If this market really turns, watch it on, again, maybe you don't buy Roku for the long. Maybe you just pay attention that Ricky was pointing out there was a long trigger and you can keep your hands away from the short and avoid a headache, right? So do with it as you please. Those are the ideas, guys. If you have some questions, I'm going to kind of go through them in the chat. I don't know if I see any right now. Let me quickly glance.